come and join us. Daaji, please say hello and give a nice.
Definitely. So, Dr. Nandi, it's such a pleasure to have you once again. And on this occasion, especially when we are launching this particular book, Spiritual Anatomy, long awaited actually. We've been working on it since almost, God knows, it has been cooking in my head since 70s or 80s. And then when I was in this position to dive deep into the subject, sometime in 2015 or 16, it all dawned and then it started flowing. Various topics, and of course, a lot of help was also involved in writing this book. So, because the yogic literature, especially in spirituality, it's so esoteric and so foreign, even to the person who is practicing yoga on a day in and day out. Even the most experts who know about chakras, theoretically, they fall flat when it comes to experiencing. So this is a little effort in that direction, that what really happens at each chakra. People are so fond of awakening various chakras and cleaning them and awakening things like Kundalini without understanding the role of each chakras. So this book is all about do's and don'ts and likes and dislikes and, your insights into chakra system, the energy vortex we all carry. So thank you. Thank you.
Well, first, I'd like to congratulate you, and I know we were talking before that you recently became a grandfather again. Tell us what that's like. This is your fourth grandchild. Tell us that feeling. I know being a parent, I know what that's like, but being a grandparent, what does that feel like?
Well, being parents is punishment for which you get rewarded with grandchildren. And we love those moments with grandchildren. Actually, I don't feel like going out of my house many a times because of, enticing hold of grandchildren on you. They simply say, Dada, and you are melted. So we often have arguments. Jerry Lewis, I think, he very sarcastically said, grandchildren and grandfather have common enemies. you know, and I would fully agree with that. I have come to realize that my grandchildren and I have made enemies in my own house. Because each time you do something with your grandchildren, the parents come up and say, no, 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 this is not to be done. And we have arguments. So this is fun time, actually. These arguments are joyful and so rewarding. Children, and especially grandchildren, and especially granddaughters, they are gems, I would say. Boys are boys after all. They jump around and they drive you nuts. And that's what I am seeing, that girls are docile, they listen to you carefully. Boys are boys.
Boys will be boys. But what's interesting is that, and you bring up a great point, that for me, my children give me what's essential in life, right? So sometimes people struggle to find. I always listen. I'm a practicing physician, so I talk about physical health, mental health. I've spent the majority of my life talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
Spiritual health is important, right? Spiritual health is critical, and it connects so much. If so many of my patients who are unwell, who have disease, don't have spiritual health, to me, children, center me often to help me understand what's important. And in this book, you talk about, and you've named it, spiritual anatomy. Very interesting. It's quite, to me, it's deeply spiritual. At a time when people are trying to be very surface, like you have social media, it's very surface. Sometimes you have people that are talking on a very surface level, but you want to go in some depth, don't you, about this? Tell us about that. Why is it so important in this transient world where people want quick everything and want a fix to everything quickly? Why go into such depth about spirituality and the importance of spirituality?
Well, any person who is even superficially practicing meditation, or you simply close your eyes and sit quietly for a few minutes, which I really don't call it meditation, but sitting silently, that itself creates so much of poise, so much of peace, so much of calmness within you. But when you are guided into meditation and where you transcend your mind itself, then you find something extraordinary that transpires within us, within all of us. And I have seen that the right guide can help us sink into our deepest level of consciousness, and that is what meditation is all about. Now, as one progresses spiritually in a meditation area, meditation field, one is not static. Because after all, spirituality is an inner journey. Just as you have external, pilgrimages from one place to another place. But the real pilgrimage, real spiritual pilgrimage is within, where one moves from one level of chakra to another level of chakra to third level of chakra. And that is fascinating actually in the spiritual realm. How it is so fascinating? I tell you, whenever you look at something or hear something or taste, touch, all these five senses we have immediate reaction. Either we like it or we don't like it. And this goes on either consciously or unconsciously. Even simple things like when you're flying and your co-passenger is there, even a slight touch, you feel either annoyed or you don't mind it or you just tolerate it. And especially if you're a woman and when someone touches you, even by mistake, and you feel so, that creepy feeling inside you. And it is natural to feel that because each one carries a different energy field, and that energy field, without saying a word, attacks you or attracts you. Now, what happens when you like something? Be it things like houses, or be it things like cars, or something related to this materialistic world. Nothing wrong with it also. Okay, you like something. Likewise, you have dislike for something. So these likes and dislikes, they create vibrations. And these vibrations settle down at one particular energy vortex near the heart. Okay. And they are bifurcated. Based on that emotional vibration it is able to create. For example, if you are sexually attracted towards someone or repelled towards someone, that's one level of vibrations. Second level of vibrations that we always go on creating is things I have or I don't have. In the materialistic world, oh, I don't have this car, though you already have some car. Oh, I don't have this phone. How will I pay my next month's rent? How will I pay my children's fees? Things of that nature, materialistic world. And any thoughts and emotions involved with that particular thing, they also create some level of vibrations. It makes your heart heavier. And those vibrations gravitate towards one particular part of our body, very close to the heart in the chest area. And these two locations are different. And whenever these chakras are affected, they affect the next chakra, next higher one. Let us see, when your desire is not fulfilled, what happens at that time? You become restless. You lose peace of mind. Right? For example, oh, I'm not able to pay I don't think I can pay my next month's rent. Now, what goes through in your mind, in your heart, at an emotional level? Excuse me. So those vibrations of related to materialistic world or sensual world, when they are not fulfilled, it makes you restless and you lose peace of mind. And when this continues, one becomes angry. And when becomes angry, fear develops. When fear develops, you become kind of unclear about yourself, about your thinking also. So you see, this is a progressive affection or progressive effects on each chakra, one higher than the other. And higher the chakra, it has a greater role to play in our life. And beyond all these desires, then there is a play of my way or highway. The ego comes into the realm. The ego has also many levels of consciousness. You see, many people, they say your thinking, your ego, or this idea of my way or highway creates havoc in a family life. But more than that, it creates chaos within oneself. Whenever one becomes too egoistic, it weighs down heavily on that person's life. And when you identify your ego, for example, with God or some higher self, or when you identify yourself with divinity, or when you identify yourself with some higher purpose, then that ego gets sublimated. It finds a purpose. Even in mundane thing, like suppose you are a doctor by professionally, you are a gastroenterologist, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
Right? And you see, surgery, you must have performed so many surgeries, you must have written so many prescriptions, and each time you feel good after each surgery. Yes, I did my job well. And there are moments you feel I'm going to do so well today. I'm going to surpass my yesterday's performance. Right? That is also ego, but that is very constructive ego. Right? And such sort of constructive ego helps us to become better and better. But to say that I am Dr. Nandi and there is no one better than me in my city, I am the best gastroenterologist, I am number one, then I would say the arrogance has kicked in. An arrogant mind cannot listen to others, arrogant mind cannot learn anything new. So this is a negative part of the ego. And these are all vibrations creating in our mental realm, in our mental consciousness. And they affect. So as our consciousness expands, for example, generosity, when you have a compassionate heart, when you have a kind heart, your consciousness simply expands. Per contra, when you become angry, you begin to hate, you begin to worry like hell. Oh, where am I going to get this money? Your consciousness constricts. And it weighs heavily on us. So to simply put, this whole mechanism, just as we talk of physical welfare, mental welfare, emotional welfare, what about spiritual welfare? So our good qualities, kindness, generosity, love, all that helps us propel our superconsciousness and also helps us go deep within our subconscious. Most people are not able to visit their past. If at all, it is all guilt related, or if at all, it is all about pride. Oh, I did this and I did that, and they go on repeating. And older you get, they go on repeating little things they did in a nice way. See, it keeps you occupied. It is me related things. See, so consciousness is a key thing when it comes to spirituality. You know, Dr. Nandi, often people ask me, what is the purpose of this existence, purpose of life? And only one answer comes to me, that is to evolve my consciousness. How fast I can evolve depends upon how fast my consciousness changes. That is all. This is my conclusion as of now.
And you're right. And you're right. So the book, just so you can see it, Spiritual Anatomy, and it's available if you can go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble. But I'm going to read something from the book. And you're right. The inspiration from this book came in the fall of 2016, when in New Jersey, I was conducting workshops. And one evening, I had a vision of the sacred anatomy, all the spiritual research on chakras, the energy centers for the evolution of our consciousness. Maybe in your own words, if you could let people know, because there may be people in the audience that are watching, don't even know what chakras are. Maybe you can give a little bit of an idea of what that means and why it's important for folks to understand that. Because, and I also want to this time thank you for joining us. And if you have any questions, please let us know. And selected questions will also be receiving a free copy of the book. So please feel free to engage with us and let us know where you're joining us from. But chakras, I mean, what are they for those who are watching who've not had any experience with that, and why is it important?
Well, let's take these few examples which we know the most. Love, anger, passion, fear, extreme state of contentment and peace. Okay. Now, when we focus our mind, let us say you are so deeply in a state of love for no reason. I'm not talking about loving someone or personal love versus impersonal love, causeless versus caused love. I'm not talking of something for which one has to depend on. I'm just saying, sometimes your heart feels so overwhelmed with this love within for no reason. Imagine what happens to you at that time. Watch the vibrations within your entire body. Scan your system from top to toe and see where those vibrations are revolving. Watch that. Secondly, watch when you are so afraid, when you are so fearful. Close your eyes at that time and scan your body and see from or in which part of your body these fearsome vibrations are gravitating. What is the epicenter of those vibrations of fear? Epicenter of vibrations of love. Epicenter of vibrations of contentment. Epicenter of vibrations related to anger. During all these classical moments, just focus. Try to scan your system and see where these vibrations are radiating from. Then you'll find that they have specific location. Each qualitative emotion has a specific location. For example, for your understanding, I would say that immense love and its opposite, anger and hatred, oozes here. The epicenter is almost 4 fingers, 3 to 4 fingers above the left nipple. And you will always feel that this particular area becomes very heavy when you're angry. Likewise, when you are sexually driven and you are not able to satisfy your sexual appetite, that particular chakra is also in the vicinity of the heart. I have mentioned how to locate each chakra. Likewise, when there is so much of contentment, where you are, some people say you are in the Buddha field, or you have entered into Christ consciousness or Krishna consciousness, or these are the very special moments in each one's life. At that moment, see how you feel within yourself. and you will find that contentment, immense peace that you gather within is on the right, almost 3 fingers below your right nipple. And if you create the mirror image of that, that will be the epicenter of vibrations related to fear. Now, okay, these are all energy vortexes, I call them. Chakras are nothing but energy vortexes, which are like epicenter of each emotions, in short. And
And that,
they're
while we
all
were talking,
experientiable.
while we were talking, sorry to interrupt you. While we were talking, Julie Tunstall said, can you describe what vibrations are? I mean, just so, because, I think we understand, you and I may understand it, but maybe in the audience, would you describe vibrations? What do they mean?
How to feel that, what those vibrations are like. For example, open your palm like this and see if you can take it near your eyebrows, but don't touch it, and see how you feel at that moment. Okay. Now you move your hands also. Don't touch your earlobes, but feel what's going on. You'll feel some heat exchange, and they are also vibrations. Right? Likewise, you will have specific feelings like that at each of this chakra. Either they become so light, it's like somebody is tickling you. Or when it is worse, for example, love versus anger and hatred. The vibrations arising at this particular chakra, which is almost 3 fingers above the left nipple, you feel so much of vacuum there. Though there will be vibrations, but they're so pleasing, very pleasing, as if someone is tickling you. But when you're angry, the same chakra becomes heavier, and you feel like scratching it. And more you scratch it, I think heavier it becomes. But when you become meditative again and try to dissolve these heavy vibrations, then the anger will also dissolve. So this is also a remedy, how to regulate our anger, how to regulate our emotions related to failure in love, how you are ditched, and how can I survive without my lost love. It's difficult, but somehow one can manage to sail through life with such techniques.
Yeah, and it looks like, it's always been like this, but it's never been more important where, there's a lot of anger and hatred, it seemed like, in the planet. And the more people can understand these techniques, whether this technique or others, to be able to, allay some of their fears, allay some of the anxiety that they have. And you write down, by the way, for those who are just joining us, we're talking about the spiritual anatomy. I have my dear friend Daaji, and he writes in the book, and I'm reading from the book. A spiritual anatomy is a story of an extraordinary adventure. And here's what I love. It says the main character, your consciousness, undertakes an epic voyage to the shores of ultimate reality and steps beyond. And the central role you play in the story, you may call your inner adventure. So, how does someone, Daaji, want to embark on this, right? So I talk about purposeful living. It's one thing if you already have a purpose and you want to do it, but how does one, living their life in the material world, begin to want to have this adventure? Because it's harder than sitting at home and just watching Netflix, or just passively, going through life. What makes someone want to be able to embark on this journey?
Well, either you have to be so fed up with life and there is no other way left but to go in, or you are so motivated, inspired from within that let me find something what is beyond all this which we see and feel in the external world. What is it that keeps me going? What is it that keeps everybody going? What is it that supports my physical life, my emotional life, my spiritual life? What is the soul about? Is it really there? Is God really a reality? And if that is the reality, how can I tap into that and experience that presence? If you are wondering about that, then only way is to go inward and feel, experience the presence. Dr. Nandi, many people I interact with in my life and I ask them, do you really believe in God? And the most people, they say, yes, don't you think we believe in God? Don't we look like? But then when you ask them, why do you believe in God? They don't have answer. Some people who do answer, they say, oh, my mom taught me that. My community says so. My religion says so. The Holy Scriptures says so. It's always someone. But when we ask, what about you? What is the foundation of your belief other than others? That no one has a real concrete answer. So in spirituality, we move away, though we may start with some belief, even if it is absurd belief that there is God. Even if you believe in God, but without experiencing, it remains an absurd hypothetical belief. And we remain satisfied with hypothetical belief. Spirituality is all about translating this belief through meditative experiences into reality. God exists? Maybe yes, maybe no. But if my search is genuine, if my search is authentic, and I really begin to search in that direction, then a day will come, I'll be able to prove to myself, not to the world, prove it to myself, that yes, I do experience the presence. It's not only within me, but it is everywhere else too. Many scientists are baffled today with this idea of consciousness. And they keep wondering how to define consciousness. What is the origin of consciousness? Even in a lot of holy scriptures which were written almost 10,000 years back in India, it deals with consciousness and it deeply talks about various nuances of consciousness. Now, when you talk of the highest level of consciousness, which is experienceable in a superconscious state, in samadhi, how to describe that? One fails to describe. And that is why most people don't have faith in esoteric practices, because such experiences are not communicable through words. Even simple things like you had an ice cream, mango ice cream. How are you going to describe the taste of mango ice cream? It's difficult. Even if you had mango ice cream yourself 2 years back or 2 days back, and I have mango ice cream now, I still cannot, but you will say, oh, you will translate that experience when I say I had mango ice cream based on your experience of 2 days back. But it can be totally, totally different. I may have a kesar ice cream, mango ice cream, and you may have had a mango, which is Alfonso mango ice cream. So it can be absolutely different. But when you talk of absolute, immutable experience of the highest, you often fail to describe, because such experiences happen Only when your ego is absent, when you are totally absent, that you feel. It is like, Dr. Nandi, one of the greatest saints of India, Saint Kabir, he simply describes, when young people, they ask him, Kabir Sahab, can you describe the ultimate state that you have experienced? He says, no, I can't. Even to say that much is impossible, because he would say that it is like raindrops falling in the ocean. The individual consciousness merging in the infinite consciousness. When that individual drop is lost in the ocean, who is there to describe that now I have become the ocean? So there is a problem in spirituality when it comes to the ultimate state. When you don't exist, then you have the ultimate experience. But then you are not there to describe the whole state. So if someone says, I can describe the ultimate state, no, run away from there. But if someone says, I can help you experience that state, then you must have little faith. Just as you have faith in a pilot taking you from Washington, D.C. to San Francisco, you surrender and say, okay, this pilot is genuine. He's been taking many flights every day. You don't look for the certificate. When patients comes to you, Dr. Nandi, let me see your certificate. Are you qualified to treat me with my GI problem? Then what would you think of such patients? And so something like that happens in spirituality also. You have to have little faith, just a little bit. Afterward, you can test all that you can. Once you are healed from inside to a certain extent, once you gain some level of peace and calmness in your life through these practices, you can expose a little more, open up your heart a little more, you experience little more. As your heart opens, you invite more and more and more love from the world. And a time comes, your heart has no walls left, Nancy. You're fully open. And that's when the ultimate experience this engulfs you.
That's great. And one thing that, if you haven't met Daaji, he's actually a part-time comedian as well. He's a very funny guy. He says he's got a lot of good jokes with a dry sense of humor. So it's always great to talk to you. It's been a little while. I'll say one thing. A lot of folks that are watching. We're on right now on YouTube. We're on a lot of social channels, and there's various levels of people that are interested in spirituality. Here you write, right, that even if you are interested, meaning just want to know, hey, what does it mean to be spiritual? This book is for you. If you want to delve even deeper into that, that sense of spirituality, this book is there for you. And then you talk about something that I liked very much in the book. I think it's called the Spiritual Atlas, the Atlas Questionnaire. Can you talk about, because I like that, because so many of the people that I talk to are beginners. They don't even, they know how to spell spirituality, but that's it. And then that's the end of their understanding of spirituality. But this questionnaire is pretty useful. Can you talk about that just a little bit, Daaji?
On Spiritual Atlas.
Yes. The questionnaire, yeah.
And I lost you, and?
I said that the questionnaire, the questions that talk about your understanding of spirituality.
Yeah. Often religion and spirituality are understood as synonymous, but they are not. They are quite different from each other. Though the roots of spirituality are very much in religion, you have to understand one thing fundamentally. You look at the world today, all religious people, so-called, would you call them religious? How many
Thousands.
wars have been fought over religions? I had to propagate my leaders' words, be it prophet or be it Christ or be it Moses or be it Krishna. Everyone either propagate these words either through aggression or through subtle means. But however subtle, aggression is always there, direct or indirect. Religions are all about dogmas and belief systems. But all the pioneers of every religion, they were not what they have become today. Let me explain to you this. Was Jesus Christ a Christian? What became after his death is Christianity, but he himself was not a Christian.
Right.
What was about the Prophet? Was he a Muslim? What became after him is Islam. Was Buddha a Buddhist? He was not. He was Hindu. What became known after his death is Buddhism. Same thing with all religions. And this only proves that you don't have to become that to be. You don't have to adopt any identity in order to become qualitatively like the pioneer of each religion. This is the problem, and this is why we keep on fighting, because we begin to identify ourselves in a very hypocritical way with the pioneers of the system. And moment we identify, we become too arrogant about our identification. And any insult in direct or indirect way of any of my pioneers, you take up arms, forgetting the whole thing that they were all love, they were all compassion manifestations, they were all personalities of such a high caliber that they must be crying together that what has become of our people? Is this why we taught them all these things? They'll cry their hearts out. The methodologies are prescribed, though none of them followed their practices. The practices came much later through the priests and pandits. It became the avenue for fulfillment of the materialistic desires. And religion uses only two instruments to keep their folks in their group. One is temptation, greed, and second is fear. That if you do this, you'll go to heaven. If you don't do this, you'll go to hell. So they must, every religion without an exception they use these two powerful instruments. Okay. All religions are theoretical. There will be slokas, there will be so much of verses in the books which you have to study. That is religious aspect. Spirituality, though you may believe in something, you cannot be happy with just a belief or dogma. You have to experience your belief. Now, is spirituality everything? Is it summum bonum? Is it everything greater and beyond religion? I would say no. Just as religion is the kindergarten that gives birth or graduates you into a school of spirituality. Now, if you remain in the school for long, you would wish that you graduate into a college, into university. Now, what is the university that comes after spirituality? Since we say religion is all about beliefs and dogmas, Spirituality is all about experience. What is beyond experience? That question always used to baffle me, but I have a good answer now. That I give you a small example so that you can understand, Dr. Nandi, that suppose you go to a very wealthy, 100 times wealthier person than yourself in some private island and yacht and everything, and you stay for 3 months in that island with your friends, and you have such a good time. After 3 months, you come back to where you are now, and you keep wondering, I had a good time there. I wish I was like my friend with the private island. I wish I was as rich. Now, what does this say to us? It only says that experiencing richness is one thing. Experiencing wealth is one thing. But to become wealthy, to become as rich is another thing. To experience divinity is spirituality. But to become that experience, divine myself, is altogether a different matter. Spiritual experiences tell me that I have to become that experience. For example, now and then I feel peace. I experience peace. But what if I can become peace manifested all the time? What if I can become, instead of loving, or instead of having these feelings of experiences of compassion, what if I can become love myself? What if I can become compassion myself as much personified? That is, you are now transcending these fields of religion, you are transcending the fields of spirituality. Now we are in the field of reality. And then what happens later on also, is this state of reality static? No, it is also dynamic, because the whole journey is infinite. In that scenario, when you have become, for example, in the ancient traditions in yoga, they say the ultimate state, it's Sat Chit Anand. That means you are in a state of such a consciousness that you're blissful all the time. Bliss has no contradiction to it. You're just bliss. There is no opposite of it. Just as there is joy and there is sorrow, there exists opposite. There is a polarity. Well, when it comes to bliss, there is no opposite. Now, this state of bliss also, Dr. Nandi, can be binding. It can also create attachment. Oh, I love to have this. I don't want to be away from this state even for a moment. That is also an attachment. It becomes a burden for you. And when you transcend even the most beautiful, blissful states, they become heavier on you. And you say, oh, I like to go beyond this, beyond bliss. And when you talk of going beyond bliss, your words fail again, that how to describe that state which has no opposite and which is beyond. And I think, and this state continues to expand, and we become dumb, we become mutes. There is no more explanation. That's why Vedas and Upanishads, especially when they talk of the ultimate state, they say neti, 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 means not this, not this, not this. What does that mean, not this? They describe that ultimate state as not this, not this, not this. It's a bit difficult to understand, but when you say, what they are trying to say is only this much, that there is nothing in this world that you can compare with and say, it is this, it is this, it is this. Nothing exists in this world which you can say, I can compare it with the taste of the mango, or I can compare it with the taste of Heineken. No. Nothing exists that you can be satisfied with the explanation of the final state. So they are happy saying, not this, not this, not this. Journey continues though.
Got it. Well, that's wonderful. I'll tell you that I want to keeps quoting the book. The Awareness Atlas, that for those of us who are on, watching live, and many of you are becoming experts, but if you're not, you can, in the beginning of the book, right? At the beginning of the book, in the book we're talking about is Spiritual Anatomy. You can go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere books are sold, you'll be able to get it. And it's a beautiful book. It's number one already in Amazon and USA Today. So you should grab a copy before it sells out. But it talks about some simple questions. For example, I am receptive to the feelings, needs, and suffering of others. And you can answer it never, rarely, occasionally, frequently. It gives you, and there are questions like this, 23 questions that tells you, listen, where do you land on this? I would put it on the spiritual journey. No wrong or right answers. And the reason why I bring this up, Daaji, is because this book is for folks who are at all levels. If you just want to delve into it, for me, it's a difficult time. It's a difficult time in the planet. It's hard for me to justify the things that happen on a daily basis that, for example, my colleagues and I, we spend so much energy saving one life. And in a moment's notice, thousands are being taken. And it's very difficult to understand or empathize with people that, that take life and view life with very little with very little consciousness or any value. To me, that's the journey that I have to take to understand my fellow humans. And wherever, if you're watching or listening, wherever your journey begins, what's nice is that this book will meet you where you are, right? It's not going to be for folks that only have a certain level of expertise. It helps you to understand that, and it explains how you feel about it. One of the questions that came up, let me see if I can find it, from one of our viewers that was watching. It said that if we have arrived, and talking about you talked about the chakras, if you have arrived at the mind region, any possibility that a person's spiritual level can spiritual level back to Pin Pradesh again. And so this is kind of a high level question, but wondering if you can answer that. This is one of our viewers.
Well, mind region is an intermediary state on our journey. What begins at the heart, later on, one ends up in the mind region, what we in traditional yogic science it is also known as cosmic region. And then comes paracosmic, and then there are regions after regions. And the final one, they call it central region. Now, we were all once upon a time part of that central region. And we fell, as they say in Christianity, we fell from the Garden of Eden. It's a way of explaining in a metaphorical way that you fell from the sublime state of innocence. If one can fall from that, there are all chances of falling from the mind region as well. And I have seen many people falling even from the central region, falling even from paracosmic, cosmic, and within Pin Pradesh also. So one has to develop some level of alertness, because on an evolutionary cycle, nature does not allow us to remain static. Either you go up or you go down. the general scientific principle also in thermodynamics, for example, they talk of entropy. How entropy, the degradation or disintegration or discord, it will continue unless and until we apply external force, or to say in a personal life, some efforts are required to keep my mind, to keep my physical, mental health in order. If I want to maintain my physical health, I have to make efforts. Take good food, balanced diet, exercise. In order to maintain some level of richness at a mental level, I have to make efforts in learning new things. Spiritually also, I have to make efforts to advance spiritually. I cannot expect to advance unless and until I make efforts. Sometimes we make efforts, but in a wrong direction. Then too, one will begin to fall. Just as you make effort, you invest $10 million in some business empire, but wrong timing, wrong place, wrong dealings will make you fail, though there were efforts. So one has to have correct efforts. And what is behind the correct efforts? Correct thinking. And what is it that is matching with the correct thinking? That is your right understanding. You can have correct thinking and right understanding also, but without honest approach to your life, and especially in spirituality, no one can succeed. Honest approach means I cannot fool God and say, I will do this, please give me something. Especially in India, they break coconuts. You must have seen Dr. Nandi. Or they light up the incense sticks and they donate something to some poor families. And you expect millions from God. You donate $100 and you say, God will give me 1 million. How? That is dishonesty. You're trying to bribe even gods. So how can you progress spiritually? These are efforts, no doubt. But such individuals, though externally religious, externally spiritual, they will fall. So to fall from mind region is very easy. Little bit of dishonesty, little bit of wrong thinking, gayala, as they say in India, you're finished. So the person who is moving very fast, or person, let's see, if I fall from this chair, I may not get hurt so much. But if I go on the first floor and fall, maybe I'll break my leg. But if I fall from the 15th floor, it can kill me perhaps. So if you see this ladder of Pind Pradesh, or then you go into mind region, cosmic region, those are heights of extraordinary evolution. And if you happen to fall from there, God help. Because in order to go all the way up there, you made so much of efforts. It's like snake and ladder game, you know. We cry when we go all the way from the 99 and come back to the first line in the snake and ladder game. So these games, they also teach us something, you know, don't make mistakes. Wrong number means you're going to come down.
That's so nice. Well, I want to continue to read something in the book. I think it's important for people to know what the book we're talking about with my dear friend Daaji, Spiritual Anatomy, and he writes, life is an opportunity to fulfill our potential. Sadly, most of us remain as potential. And what follows is important: a seed that never germinates to become a flower. And unless we break through the shell of ego and comfort, we do not transcend the limitations and become limitless. And the spiritual anatomy, Daaji writes, unlocks your limitless potential. And people like me, we work on the body for physical growth and health, right? And also to get the biology to really stretch its limits. The mental realm has more growth potential than the physical. And you've spoken about this many times, when in front of thousands of people and now here. You tell me why you say that. Do you feel like the mental potential far, can outgrow the physical potential?
Well, this is from a simple observation that physically, how much can you grow? We have our own we are all genetically predisposed to certain heights and certain weight and certain growth. If I am predestined genetically to grow 5 feet 5, I will grow 5 feet 5. Maybe half an inch or 1 inch longer if I do my exercises properly. But I cannot become 6-footer. I cannot become Michael Jordan, for example. I have genetically predisposed physical body. It has its own limitation, right? Though I can become more energetic than my father. I can have right nutrition and exercise. Now, my father may be a farmer, my father may be a dud, but a taxi driver's son can really become a PhD also if he works hard at university, right? The key is working hard and opening your potential. Now, but can all PhD holders become like Einstein or Heisenberg? I doubt it. There is a potential, but there is some limit to it at a mental level. At a physical level, there's so much of restrictions, very little freedom. At a mental level, there's a greater freedom, but not so much also that you can become like those great brains like Einstein and Heisenberg. Now, spiritually, there's infinite potential. There is nothing to stop anyone. Because it is all about consciousness. And it is beyond the mind. It is beyond any sort of a thing. Sky is open to you. There is no limit. Nothing can stop us. Now, the tragedy is this, that though there is no possibility of growth in the physical world, we try so much to change the body, the looks, and etc. But where there is infinite potential in the spiritual world, we don't even invest 1 minute of our time in a genuine way towards this spiritual growth. So this is what I like to emphasize, that we all have such a great potential in the spiritual realm, infinite potential to become like the creator. You cannot become the creator, but you can become the replica qualitatively. And where there is infinite possibility, but we don't do anything. And where there is stumbling blocks at every state, when we invest so much of energy, I think it's a tragedy of not just the modern life, but it has always been like that.
Yes. Such great wisdom. We appreciate you taking the time tonight. We've been talking about this book, This Spiritual Anatomy, and with my friend Daaji, who has just been brilliant. I wanna end, Daaji, by quoting your friend Deepak Chopra on this book. And you can pick up this book anywhere, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. It's already a #1 seller. But Dr. Chopra writes, exceptional. Spiritual anatomy blends the wisdom of yogic philosophy with practical techniques to unlock your infinite potential. So I encourage all of you, if you haven't already done so during this live cast or afterwards, if you're watching it not live, go out and get it. And the reason for me is this, because in such times of unrest, when you have some basic questions, a book like this can really go and give you some tools to be able to unleash your potential, to really be able to delve into your spirituality. And I think if you can allow your body and mind to do this, I think it really be a great service. Daaji, as always, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and everybody who's watching and listening now and who's going to watch later, appreciate your time. Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nandi. And thanks everyone for joining us today. Thank you.